Hello everybody, I hope all of you are having a good day today. This upload that I'm posting today is actually one that I've been working on for a few years. I've uploaded a few videos on this particular topic, and I just keep receiving new revelations and adding to it. So it's kind of like this is a work in progress, and it is definitely for those with eyes to see and ears to hear. It's not for everybody. As most of you guys know, I believe that the book of Revelations, or the Revelation of John, is a spiritual book. The Greek word for revelation is apocalypse, and that means unveiling, uncovering, or awakening. You know, Jesus said that his words were spirit, and I believe that the book of Revelation is a spiritual book. It's not one that you can take literally. With that being said, I do believe that we have entered into a new age, and I believe that there is a great awakening happening. I believe it started as a trickle some years ago, probably the year 2012, and in the year 2020, that trickle turned into a flood. You know, the Mayans didn't predict the end of the world for December 21st, 2012. What they actually said was it was the end of an age. And they said at the end of that age, in December 21st, 2012, that there would be a great renewing, an awakening, and that for the first few years of the transition from these ages, that the world would be thrown into chaos. And that's what we're seeing today. We're seeing a very chaotic world. It's like the world is rejecting this awakening, but there's no stopping it. You know, the Mayans and most of all the other ancient cultures looked at time as cyclical, and that's the way I see it as well. And once in a dream, I was shown a spool of wire being unstrung, and as the spool became less and less, it began to spin faster and faster and got more chaotic the closer we got to the end of the wire. And what God was showing me was that's the way it is at the end of these ages. It gets very chaotic. I'm going to get back to the Mayans a little later in this upload, but right now I want to remind you of the Hopi prophecy. The Hopi Indians were a tribe of Indians in the early Americas, and they handed all of their prophecies down by cliff drawings and by word of mouth. I believe the things that they were seeing were of a spiritual nature and not of a literal nature as well. And they spoke about the arrival of the twins. The twins were called a blue and a red kachina, and they were stars, the arrival of these twin stars. And most people know that in Scripture, most of the time, stars are referring to the host of heaven, people or angels. Now, if you mix red and blue together, remember the red and blue kachina, if you mix those two colors together, it will give you purple. And purple is the color of royalty. So look at it as the coming of a royal priesthood. Most of you guys know the story of Thomas, the Apostle Thomas. He was also known as Doubting Thomas. His name means twins. In John chapter 11, verse 16, Thomas says something that was very strange to me. He says this after he and Jesus and the other apostles find out about Lazarus' death. Remember, Lazarus was raised from the dead. Anyways, it reads, Then Thomas, the twin, said to the rest of the disciples, let us also go, that we may die with him. I knew immediately after reading that there was something much deeper to what was written here. And after much prayer and meditation, I received a revelation on what was actually being said. And what I received was a hidden prophecy and a timeline. Now, this is where it starts to get really deep, so pay close attention here. The zodiac sign Gemini is a twin. And the age of Gemini occurred just before the fall of man, around 6,000 years ago. Remember, God told Adam and Eve, he said, if you eat of this fruit, on that day you will surely die. Okay, and remember, Thomas and the other disciples had just heard about the death of Lazarus. And they said, let us go down so that we may die with him. When Adam and Eve died spiritually, they were cast out of the Garden of Eden. They were cast down into a lower level of consciousness. Okay, now look at Thomas as a group of people that could see the writing on the wall. They could see what was about to happen to mankind. They were seeing that they were about to die a spiritual death. And these were some of the hosts of heaven, and they looked down and decided, hey, let us go down and die with them. Meaning, let us go down there and die with them, and later we will be reawakened, and we will wake them back up when the time is right. I know most of you are thinking right now, man, Billy, that's stretching it a little bit, but bear with me, okay? Because it gets a lot deeper and it gets a lot more clearer. In Genesis chapter 6, verse 3, God says, my spirit shall not always strive with man, for that he also is flesh, yet his days shall be 120 years. And most preachers today will tell you that's when God decided to stop letting man live for hundreds and hundreds of years. And so his limit was at 120 years, and nobody lived past that. And after 120, they would die. But it means something different. In those days, they also counted time by Jubilee years. One Jubilee year is 50 years. So 120 Jubilee years is 6,000 years. It's 120 times 50. Remember, to God, a day is as 1,000 years, and 1,000 years is as a day. God created everything in 6 days, or 6,000 years. Remember, God always gives us the end at the beginning. And at the very beginning of Jesus' ministry, you remember his very first miracle that he performed, he turned water into wine. There were 6 vessels of water. So look at each vessel as 1,000 years. 6 vessels, 6,000 years. And Jesus told his disciples after he turned the water to wine, he said, draw out now and bear to the governor of the feast. And they bore it. They became water bearers, or the bearers of the new wine. You see, there's some spiritual stuff going on here. The master called to the bridegroom, okay? Now, we all know Jesus is the bridegroom. You know, he's bringing in the bride. But he's all, you know, he's shocked that, you know, because most of the time they do the good wine in the very beginning and everybody gets drunk. And by the end of the feast, they're giving out the cheap wine and nobody notices because everybody's drunk. But this time, the best came at the last. In other words, this is God telling us now. He said, you know, you think the stuff you're seeing now is amazing? You just wait till at the end, because at the end, it's going to be a trip. If you'll remember in Luke chapter 22, verse 10, Jesus had sent Peter and John to the city to look for a place for them to have Passover. to have their Last Supper. They asked Jesus, they said, "Where do you want us to prepare for it?" And Jesus said, "Behold, when you enter into the city, there shall be a man meet you bearing a pitcher of water. Follow him into the house where he entereth in." Go in through the doorway with him, basically, okay? Remember, he is a man bearing a pitcher of water. He is a water bearer. Peter and John were part of the group that were with the twin, Thomas, when they decided to go down and die with him, to die with Lazarus. Lazarus represents the fall of man. The age prior to the fall of Adam and Eve was the age of Gemini, the twin. The time between the fall of man and the age that we're entering into now has been 6,000 years. We are moving into the age of Aquarius. Aquarius is known as the water bearer. In this age, the elect angels, or those who said, "Let us go down and die with him," meaning Lazarus, and Lazarus represents fallen man. Those who volunteered first to come will come in the end. The first will be last. In the book of Ezekiel, Ezekiel has a vision of the Lord. And in his vision, he sees a wheel within a wheel. And there are 4 seraphim angels at the throne of God. And each one has the face of a ram, an eagle, a man, and a bull. These faces represent the fixed signs in the zodiac: Aquarius, Scorpio, Leo, and Taurus. Now, in the olden days, Scorpio was represented by an eagle. You can see here that the zodiac signs go in clockwise, and Gemini is right before Taurus at the fall of man. Then we had Aries and Pisces, the time of Jesus, and now we're in the time of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius. Here is the Mayan calendar. It's a wheel within a wheel. It's the long count calendar. The ancients knew how time worked. They knew the signs, and they knew how to predict the times. You can even look at the story of the death of Moses. He was 120 years old. Remember, God's Spirit will only contend with man for 120 years, 120 Jubilee years, or 6,000 years. Moses was 40 years in Egypt. Then he escaped Egypt, and he was gone for 40 years, and then he came back, and he brought the Israelites out of Egypt, and they were in the desert for 40 years. Each 40-year Jubilee represents 2,000 years, and an age is approximately 2,000 years. The time of the arrival of the twins that the Hopi prophesied about is now. We are in the time of the elect angels. An angel is a messenger, someone who has a message from God. They have a song to sing. Each messenger has a song that only they can sing, and no one else can learn that song. It's their testimony of God's love. If you have a song to sing, you know God has called you out of darkness. He's redeemed you from the earth. You know your mission. Sing your song. Love is the only thing that matters. Love is the only thing that will get mankind through this time of chaos and into the next age. I love you all. God bless.